Come on back into another episode of Game Runs Deep. I'm Sudu, soon to be joined by Ben Garrett of the Ole Miss Spirit. Sign up today for 50% off. Look at me doing promos for Ben. Now, those of you that saw us on the live stream know that Ben and I were actually together. I'm re-recording this intro as kind of a separate intro to Game Runs Deep, since Ben and I kind of share between Talk of Champions and Game Runs Deep. But man, what a weekend in Oxford, Mississippi. Got to be down there to watch the Rebels win their first ever playoff game at the Vaught against Tulane. Just an incredible experience, seeing so many people that I grew up with in Oxford and went to Ole Miss with, or went to Oxford High with, being there to get to watch Ole Miss, a team that we supported, growing up, and obviously went to or just have followed along throughout the years. To one, host a playoff game in our hometown, but two, to win as well was remarkable. Got to hang out with Ben, which we're going to talk about when he joins here very soon. But man, it's an exciting time. College football quarterfinals now coming up. Some interesting first round games. I will say I did call the upsets of Alabama over Oklahoma, which is an upset in my opinion, based on how Oklahoma beat Bama the first time. And I also called Miami over Texas A&M. So very excited about those two. Of course, Ole Miss, Tulane as well. But moving forward, it's going to get real interesting. I got a lot of stock in Texas Tech. Ben and I will talk about a little bit about the bigger picture moving forward, but I think Texas Tech could be very interesting. A team that you've kind of feared all year long, but they've been in that Big 12 slate. So people have, I think, kind of just been like, well, they play in the Big 12. They're playing teams in their conference really well. What's going to happen when they have to play some of these national teams? Now we're going to get to see it against Oregon. So that's really exciting, obviously, coming up in the Capital One Orange Bowl. Then, of course, Georgia Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. Georgia, a team I covered very closely for the last 2 years. So a lot of you guys like to give me crap about, my quote-unquote love affair with Kirby Smart in Georgia. But at the end of the day, I call it like I see it. I like to think I know ball. And Georgia might be playing some of the best football right now in the country outside of Indiana. So it's going to be a tough task for the Rebs. Ben and I will touch on that one as well. And, of course, you got the Cotton Bowl, Miami, Ohio State. This was a rivalry of sorts based on what happened in the early 2000s, obviously. And both programs, Ohio State for most of the year looked like the most dominant team in the country. And outside of that loss to Indiana, they have looked like that team all year long. But they play a Miami team that suffocated their opponent, Texas A&M, in that first round. Their defense really, really showed why I, early in the season, had Miami as my national title contender. And as long as Carson Beck doesn't make mistakes, there's a good shot that Miami could get Ohio State. And, of course, the last one, Alabama facing off against Indiana. The Hoosiers, obviously perfect 13-0, came into the playoff as the top seed. Getting to play a tie team that got retribution on Oklahoma, but still a lot of holes on that team. I really worry about Bama's offensive line against Indiana's defense. And of course, the way Indiana plays very methodically on offense could be something that could trouble Alabama. So we're going to touch on all these games, which is so exciting in the midst of this college football playoff run to have gotten to see Ole Miss, the school I went to, the hometown I grew up in, the team I've loved my entire life, get to host a game and win. So without further ado, let's get Ben in here for this new episode of Game Runs Deep. What's up, Benny? Welcome, welcome the folks into Game Runs Deep, Talk of Champs. Good seeing you after a phenomenal Saturday where we got to hang out for 4+ hours. Always a pleasure for me. Always a pleasure for me. Mary, good morning. I'm in Stamford, Connecticut right now, man. It's a kind of a dreary day outside, raining, but hey, blessed to be up here, I guess. Pretty excited.
What are you doing in Stamford, Connecticut, for the people that don't know?
Doing some shows. Doing some shows for CBS this week. We got shows tonight, tomorrow, and on Christmas Day. And I'll make my way to Virginia to spend some time with family. And Benny, I'm not going to be at the Sugar Bowl. Yeah, I know. After all the planning I did and all the stuff I did, it's now come to the point where I realize I'm not going to be able to make it. So, little bummed, but we're not going to let that bring down what has been an awesome season so far, obviously. And I got to come to all the big games, hang out with you, man. That's really what it's about. So,
it was really fun Saturday hanging out.
I
pretty
know.
much an absolute. I don't know. The main thing that happened to me throughout the game was the realization that I had nothing to worry about, and Sudu laughing at me because he said, "I told you so. I told you that like Tulane's not any good, dude. I told you so."
Uh,
But man, like a clinical whipping for Ole Miss in that game, and to sit there and like Sudu and I got to sit there together all throughout the Florida game, and it was great. Then we did all throughout the college football play. I was really thinking the Sugar Bowl. The Sugar Bowl was going to be an opportunity, the final capper to our 2025-26 special, game runs deep, but no. This man says he's going you're actually working on Christmas Day.
I am working on Christmas Day. That is correct.
Brutal, dude. Are you
Um,
calling a game or something?
no, I'm just doing shows in studio. I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm happy, Ben. You know, you work so hard to get to this point, so you can't really complain if you get a shot
Mm,
to anchor a show for CBS, right? You can't really
that's right.
like that's not really something. So I mean, I'm excited. You know, when they asked me to come up here, they were like, "Are you sure? We don't want to impede on your plans." And I was like, "Are you kidding me? You know how many years I've sat around and watched sports on New Christmas Day and been like, man,
Mm,
one day that could be me." You know, so of course, I'm excited to be here and do that. But the Sugar Bowl piece, man, it's just I've been going and going and going and going for the last 2 months. And I started looking at it and I'm like, oh my God, I just don't think I'll be able to do it, man. Like when I left Oxford and had to fly up here yesterday, I thought I felt like I'd been hit by a bus. Like because I
yeah.
just been going for so long. And so like between this, going to visit family in Virginia, driving back to Atlanta, then hitting the road for New Orleans again, I just was like, yeah, I don't know if this is gonna actually work out. So you know, it's unfortunate I won't be there with Rebel Nation, but I will be there in spirit, cheering on from Atlanta. I'm sure we're gonna have some fun stuff going on over there as well with some Ole Miss friends of mine. So we'll make it all work. But
Make
enough
it all
about
work.
me, Benny. Enough
Make
about
it all
me.
work.
Let's talk about the Rebs. We got
Yes, we
questions
will. But
coming in already.
yes. Okay. Well, hold on. First of all, I will miss you. Um, you will be missed, right? I wanted to
Yeah.
see my friend. We're planning to do something. Brad Logan and I were going to go live on New Year's Eve. We're still trying to figure out the location piece, but I had your name brought up immediately. I said, well, Sudu should be sent to the Georgia side. You do the Ole Miss side. You'll do like a blended podcast. I was like, that'd been amazing. But
That
you're
would have been
absolutely
good.
right. You bring up a really good point. Something I've said before, man, has helped me as I've gotten older. And you can't pray for things and then get the blessing and go, wait a second, this isn't the blessing I wanted. It isn't the way it's supposed
Right.
to be. It's supposed to be this way. You can only give thanks to God for what he's done. And I'm so proud of you because there's nobody better. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's nobody better in this business, and there's nothing beyond the capacity of one Sudu Upadea. He is awesome, and I'm so thankful that we've been doing this and that you're getting that opportunity on Christmas Day. Wish you could be just opening some presents with friends and family, but ball don't sleep. You know what I mean? Just like it don't lie, it
Ball
don't
don't
sleep.
sleep.
It don't sleep.
Game runs deep. Ball don't lie. Ball don't sleep. All that. Yeah. No, I mean I'll get to go like 20. The day after Christmas. I'll get to see my family. So it won't be too bad. And like I said, excited to be up here. But no, man. Yeah, we had a hell of a time in Oxford, and now New Orleans is coming up, but along with all those other college football playoff matchups that are really exciting. Wait, I see questions coming in.
Yep.
Okay, Ben William Eccles could be the next Walter Nolan. Do you agree?
I
This
think
is
he's
from
already
Jeff
there.
Sessions.
I think he's already there. I saw a mock recently had him as the number one defensive tackle for next year's draft, like number 12 overall for a mock. I mean, I think William Eccles is already there, man. And that is a guy that was handpicked by Pete Golding. And what an absolutely great piece he's been. I mean, he and Cam Franklin, two second-year defensive linemen, are Ole Miss's best defenders right now. Sonny P announcing his return for next year is huge unto itself.
Hmm.
Let's not get it twisted, but the two anchor pieces that allow everyone else to be better around them is William Eccles and Cam Franklin. And yeah, I mean, he's Walter Nolan made over. And you don't just have him for a year; you had him for this year, where he dominated in 12 in 1 year,
Yeah.
and now you get him back next year. That's going to be, yeah. Well, the LSU coaches, offensive coaches, finished the college football playoff with Ole Miss. That's what it's looking like. That's what it's looking like. But I was curious what you thought about, because everybody's gone. What happened was they had a walkthrough on Monday, and then they were all sent home for the holidays, right? And some recruiting staffers like Kelvin Bolden are already on the trail, hit the trail hard recruiting. And those LSU coaches as that video at LSU showed, including Kevin Smith, were walking through the door with one he who shall not be named anymore. There has been real consideration to not allowing this to happen, not allowing them to. But as far as I know, though they're all gone now, they'll all be back Friday, including those coaches. So far as I know, yep, sounding like it's going to look that way. But what do you think of that video, dude?
Well, it confirmed what we knew about
Yep.
Kevin Smith, right? It was just, it's finally seeing him in those colors walking into that building. I mean, why was the video put out the way it was? We know why it was. I mean, everyone knows why they put out a video like that, right? It's to troll Ole Miss. That's the type of time Kiffin is on now, which is fine, because if that was the opposite way, like we stole LSU's coach, and then Ole Miss fans would be all about it too. But it just confirmed everything. It does when you visualize it the way in terms of that video. It's really hard seeing. I don't know why Kevin Smith was the one that made me feel so bothered by it. It's like I knew all those coaches were going, and I knew they were joining Kiffin's staff, but it was seeing Kevin Smith. I felt like there was an emphasis on Kevin Smith specifically in that video, and I kind of, I guess it bothers you if you're an Ole Miss guy. But you said it Saturday. You're like, if I was Golding, I'd just say, you know what, guys, thanks for the first round win. Appreciate y'all helping. You go ahead and stay in Baton Rouge. And in my head, I was thinking, well, you can't do that. You've already announced that they're going to be here for the playoffs, and you probably do have a better shot of having those coaches available for your players who've so used to them. But when I saw that video, Ben, I kind of agreed with you. I was like, what? Why are we doing this? Like, why are we doing? Just forget about it. Just like send them off, do it the way you can. But I'm sure it does make an impact. Especially for Golding to have to, you know, delegate duties and figure out, instead of doing all that, it's much easier to just have the system that was in place for the postseason as well. But it made me agree with you a little bit more, in short. You're muted, Benny.
There it is. I don't remember another school. Maybe it has happened because all I'll do is cover Ole Miss. Yeah, I can talk about all the other ones than we do here on Game Runs Deep, but like my day to day is Ole Miss at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com. Unaffiliated on 3. Sign up today. 50% off for new members. All you got to do is sign up as Ole Miss is in the playoffs, and you can get an annual for 50% off. What a great Christmas gift it would be. Just go to the Ole Miss Spirit. That's what that QR code in the top right corner of your screen is. It'll take you to the join page at the Ole Miss Spirit. I'll switch it up here shortly because I got something I got to show y'all after this. But yeah, like the William Eccles, it's not a surprise. I agree with D's graphics. It's not a surprise at all. Actually, is what we've been talking about, hinting at, saying straight up for weeks now. What was inevitably going to happen. There was something that caused me. There was a conversation I had that really caused me to have some pause about it. Because I know that Kevin didn't love the way that Ole Miss these coaches left, but ultimately he did what everyone expected him to do. He followed Lane to LSU. He's got the assistant associate head coach title with it now. Got an elevation in title. Good for him. Frank Wilson will be at Ole Miss as its running backs coach after the Texas Bowl. He's the interim head coach for LSU until the 27th. So all these folks down there can do is because the man he who shall not be named isn't coaching his new team. He can't, because that's Frank Wilson's team until the 27th. He can't coach his old team that's in the college football playoff, got the Sugar Bowl coming up. So it's about this. I mean, he's left to his own Twitter and trolling devices, right? I mean, it's been I've never seen, and maybe I'm naive from being the Ole Miss Spirit guy, but I've just never seen another school like slow roll out staff additions. You know what I mean? Like roll it out there, like,
Yeah.
And your offensive coordinator. It's weird. It's weird. But if the worst is that you sign up, thank you, Mary. You get sign up to the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, affiliated on 3, 50% off right now, an annual if you sign up while Ole Miss is in the playoffs. It is just kind of hilarious. He can't let it go. He's up in his. He can't, and I think he's feeling it. Like he's feeling that FOMO because Saturday was an amazing day. Sitting there with Sudu and watching Ole Miss, like this was a fulfillment of things you and I've been talking about for 2 decades, dude. I mean, this was just a really cool day, and I'm so glad that Ole Miss was able to get the win. And the question becomes, okay, so obsessed with Ben and himself. I hadn't heard from him since that last text, so like, I think we're good. I think we're moving on. I sent him a link to Project Pat. But if you want, to continue to troll back, look what my friends got me, Sudu. Look at this. This is hilarious. Look at this shirt. Look at this shirt.
Who made the shirt? That's
My
incredible.
friend Chip, Mallory, and Drew, and Jessica, and Flip, all my guys, the hoes of South Lamar here in New Albany, Mississippi. We had Friendsmas last Friday. My friends, unbeknownst to me, showed up wearing this here. And I'm not going to lie. The lame part is funny. But the funnier part is how accurate I look. You know, a little chubby.
Yeah.
The hair's kind of like flowing the right way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my guy's pulling the slate. If you want one of these shirts, just let me know in the comments. And I'll shoot up a link up there up top. I'll switch out the QR code for y'all to go find one yourself. This was amazing. And since it's Christmas time, I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and tell everybody Merry Christmas from Game Runs Deep with one of the best, funniest gifts I've ever gotten. That's just amazing. And I'm so glad to get that. That was just great. So I wanted to share
it's been
that.
a week. It's been a week for you, man. You helped set a new Guinness World Record. Imagine that.
That had nothing to do with me. All right. Oh, so Mary already wants the code. She wants the QR code. All right, let's find it.
You don't think the
right
Santa
there.
hats had anything to do with you? Is
No.
what you're telling me?
No, but 68,000 handed out. I like seeing my guy
Right.
Joe Tess wearing one too. It's kind of like, he kind of made it. There's the link right there, Mary. If you want this hilarious shirt, just scroll down and find it. Look at this.
That's incredible. That is an awesome gift from your
I should
friends.
have worn it in the Grove on Saturday when we did our live show.
Did you have it with you at the time?
I did, but I was trying to be a professional. But look at that thing. Look at that thing. And I'm so happy.
Yeah. No, without a
my face
doubt,
is
man.
nice and round. I've got the little double chin going. It's kind of, just fantastic. So thank you to my friends. And if you want one too, there's the QR code right there because I thought that was hilarious, dude. Anyway,
that is awesome.
That game was boring as hell, but nice breathe, like a nice respite from the craziness of the last 2 weeks. If you want that shirt right there, that's the QR code.
Is that Josh McCoy, like the Josh we know?
I think that's the Josh we know. It's right there.
Get you one, Josh.
Get you that thing. But what a game it was. Reinforced that we need to get rid of automatic qualifiers. You and I were talking about it in the game. How you need 16 teams now. No, you need the right 12 teams before you get 16 in there.
Well, so the part of that is that I'm just going to keep beating this horse here, but
it is the Josh we know. It's our friend Josh McCoy.
What's up,
our
Josh
lovely
McCoy?
Ole Miss Picks friend Josh McCoy. Hey, Josh, love you, buddy.
One of the best photographers I know, man. No. Look, the 16 things. I mean, you're talking about getting the right 12 in. The problem with getting the right 12 in is if you continually, as you're mentioning, have the automatic qualifiers, you're going to get the group of 5 in. But also, I'm going to say it again. I said it before. You just need to give the group of 5 their own playoff. Okay.
Yeah.
It just, and I know it feels like, oh, well, it's going to feel secondary and it's not fair and you're still excluding them. If there's advertising money and television contracts involved, everyone's going to be happy. That's my entire thing. It's like these schools will be able to make money for themselves, and more of them will be get involved in these playoffs, which means more TV revenue, and more just revenue in general for these programs. I don't see why they wouldn't be pushing this as well. I mean, I get it. It's like you have this big, the big dance, so to speak, if you want to look at the playoff that way. And everybody wants to be a part of that. But football is just different, man. It's not people bring up like lower levels of football, then they bring up like college basketball and NCAA baseball, and they go, look, everybody's doing this format. And it's like, yeah, but football's just one, it's a different sport. And in the levels of football, there's the parity drops off significantly, even in the Power 2 between the Big Ten and SEC. Think of the lower Big Ten teams, the lower SEC teams compared to the ones at the top. Like, it's just not a sport that's built to be just where you can just have a Tulane or James Madison every year and that can compete and go win a national title. So to me, it's just each day we go through this, and as the playoffs continue, I just get more and more like, hey, give these guys their own playoffs. Because what happened Saturday was just, it sucked. if you're a JMU or Tulane fan, maybe it's cool because you got in your first playoff ever, but the novelty of that's going to die off. Like if they continue to get in, but they can't compete, then the fans are going to get tired of the product. The players in these schools are eventually going to be like, "Damn, we can't advance past a certain point." It just makes sense, Ben. But oftentimes the things that make sense don't happen in this sport. So
You know what else makes sense? Allowing it's great for Ole Miss. I mean, $70 million, over $70 million in revenue from Saturday. But it makes a lot of sense to not punt it. Like Georgia should be able to have a home playoff game. Like Ole Miss should be going to
100%
right now. That should be the next step. Meanwhile, Miami should be going. You know what I'm saying? Georgia, these second round teams. I'd rather see a college football atmosphere for New Year's Day than some NFL stadium in a neutral site. Call it the Sugar Bowl if you want to, but money rules everything, and that's the unfortunate part of this. But man, that experience in and of itself, what's one of the longest held Ole Miss jokes ever? It's the old people that would tell you to sit down. They can't see. If you know what I mean? Like, hey, sit down in front. I'm trying to watch the Rebels play. And we used to make fun of that, how the crowd, we wanted to change these things about the crowd. Lane always trolled the crowd. The size of them, how they responded, if they stayed, if they left. The student section was really the target of his ire more than anywhere else. And yet Saturday, you and I spoke about this when we're sitting there together watching it, Sudu. No one moved for 4 hours.
When you and Brad and I were walking back into the stadium to do the post-game show, fans were still walking out of their seats. This is an hour after the game is ended. We had just finished Pete Golding's press conference, maybe less than an hour, but close to it. We just left Pete's presser. We're walking in. There were still fans leaving their seats at the VOT. It just meant that much to everyone, and they were taking it all in. And
forgive me, I interrupt you, but that's not something that's normal. That's not been the normal. And it's because the long thing is well, can you get the students to stay? You needed to add incentivize them to stay, and this, that, and the other. There was no incentive needed for Saturday. They stayed, and the atmosphere, even with a game that was non-competitive, they stayed and they absolutely showed up, man. And I just thought that was such a cool thing to see because it speaks to the growth of Ole Miss. And yes, he who shall not be named was a huge, huge part of that. It was the main driver of that for the first at least 3, maybe 4 years. But the last 2, Ole Miss is no longer solely dependent and tethered to a cult of personality to be a next level program. Now Ole Miss is in a place where it can generate $70 million in revenue on the same day that it whips up on a G5 opponent that had no business being in there, and they made sure to show that outside, if Austin Simmons doesn't fumble, buddy, that's 48-10. That's 48-10.
It was going to be a lot worse. 100%.
Yeah, it was going to be a lot worse, and yeah.
It just, look, it was awesome. 70 plus $70 million generated for the town. It just makes me think if that was another team, Texas, Notre Dame, how much more money it would have generated, how much crazier the environment would have been. But alas, it doesn't matter for this year. They've done it. They moved on. We got any questions? Ben, stop saying he who should not be named. It's lame.
It's lame. Okay. Well, other people said to stop mentioning his name. So what do you want me to call him? I'll tell you exactly what I called him. Because this shirt right here. Look at this thing. And if you want one, QR code up top. There it is. There's hope to see you in New Orleans. I'll be in New Orleans. Sudu won't be in New Orleans, which is a bummer.
I know. Last second audible, man. Last second audible for me.
That is so funny. So yeah, I'll stop. If y'all think it's lame, I'll stop. I'll just call him what he is, Lane. He's just a dude. But as far as these coaches are concerned, I don't disagree with Javon Campbell, who doesn't like it. He said, I don't agree with the LSU coaches going back and forth. I understand that. And there were some bad rumors last week that when they were going about town that were pretty hot, that would have led you to say, get them out of here, and it makes for such an awkward dynamic. But I think one thing that I've learned through this is that Pete Golding, he knows exactly who's coming, who's going, what meetings are being held. Like the coaches that have been hired, like John David Baker, JDB, he's right there with everything. He's not leading. He's not calling the plays on game day like Charlie Weiss is, but he's right there with them everywhere, and he's building out the transfer strategy. There's like anything untoward or anything that might be kind of, yeah, we were looking forward to get y'all beers, Mary. See, they were gonna let us drink.
Hey, more beers for Ben. You know what I mean? Give all the beers you're going to give me, which are going to be a lot. If I don't know how many you guys are planning to buy, appreciative of any, but any amount of beers you're going to allot for me, you give to Ben Garrett. Okay, he's earned it.
Yeah, but I don't know why, Javon. They posted photos and they like slow rolled out the announcements, dude. That they were saying.
We know why. We know why.
Yeah, we know.
Okay, we know why they did.
Trolling. Come on.
Which, by the way, I think when we were talking about Lane leaving before he left everything, I'd made a point to be like, look, you can't let a guy stay in your building who's going to be the coach of your rival. And I got some pushback from that from LSU people who said this isn't a rivalry. Like, we don't look at y'all as rivals. And I'm like, no, but historically it is. It goes back to Billy Cannon. I mean, this goes back to the 40s. Like, it is a historic rivalry. And in least recent years, it's kind of lost some of that toxicity that we, I guess, saw in back in 03 with Eli and kind of the years following that, where there was a bad taste in Ole Miss fans' mouths of just how that went down. And you had some really exciting games those couple years with Houston Nutt. But now I feel like the true rivalry aspect of this matchup between these two programs has come back. And as someone who grew up like hating LSU, and just saying that it's our biggest rival, like I to this day maintain that like I care more about beating LSU. I care about beating Mississippi State, but it's almost more of like you expect to do that, but LSU is one of those it's like, man, you want to beat them every single time. And now it adds more fire to it. And I am appreciative of that. I don't know how other Ole Miss fans feel about it, but I'm like, good. I'm glad this rivalry is going to ratchet up a little bit because it is a classic SEC. It's a classic college football rivalry that doesn't get enough attention. In my opinion, I've watched interviews of old, like former LSU players talking about, who their biggest rivals are. And I don't remember who it was. I have to go back and find this video. But the guy mentioned specifically, he's like, we have Alabama and Florida, whatever. But he was like, Ole Miss low key was one of the hardest matchups for us. Like they really cared about beating us. And for me, that's exciting as a fan, is like that kind of intensity is going to be brought back into this game, into the Magnolia Bowl. And that's another thing. There's a trophy. As silly as it was when they introduced the trophy back in 08, 09, whatever that was, we were all like, why the hell are you doing this? It was significant enough of a rivalry to where they could even bring up the idea of a trophy and both schools could agree to it. And now we still have it. And in due time, Ben, like that trophy is going to become something people care about, I'm sure. But I love that aspect of it. Is the rivalry aspect of it has just been ratcheted up. And as long as Lane's there, I don't know, maybe this could end up being a Dan Mullen type situation for Ole Miss, where you have this kind of thorn in your side, this guy that you're constantly talking about you and
or you're the thorn in the side.
Or both, yeah. But I'm saying, but it's more likely that Lane is going to troll Ole Miss and talk about Ole Miss and figure out ways to, sabotage whatever the Rebs have going on than Pete. Pete did take his shots at the end of that game in his press conference, which I know a lot of Ole Miss fans loved. But I don't think that's going to be the norm forever for Pete. But Lane, Lane. We all know Lane. Lane's going to always make it a point when that game comes up, or even if it doesn't, to say something. So.
Well, Javon Campbell sounds a little bit like I was sounding on Saturday. Not that I don't think Ole Miss can win. I believe Ole Miss, if they win, I said this to Sudu, or maybe not to Sudu. I can't remember who I said it to, but I firmly believe this. If Ole Miss gets through Georgia, I'm going to pick them to win a title. I believe they'll win a title.
Absolutely. You're the team of destiny at that point if you can do that.
Yes. Like the perfect capper for college football. I was talking to Mark Schlabach at ESPN on the field down there at the game on Saturday, and we were – he was writing his Ole Miss story, and we both kind of agreed. What would be the perfect capper to 2025? Ole Miss winning the title because of all of the extracurricular, obviously. But like Ole Miss feels like the team of destiny for this playoff. Now, from a matchup standpoint, nothing about this matchup has really changed since Ole Miss couldn't get a stop back in Athens in October, right? Like they're the same. I mean, the only thing that's really changed is that Georgia's gotten even better.
Georgia's gotten better.
Did to you in October. But like Ole Miss defensively, while it was 41-10, Tulane was moving the ball, Sudu. They were really
Yeah,
moving the ball. They were getting
absolutely.
real push up front on you. So for me, I expect Ole Miss to beat, or I mean to lose to Georgia. I expect it to be a competitive football game, but like nothing's really swayed me. Like I could see the game playing out almost exactly like the one in October. Unless, like if Ole Miss had gotten that 1 4th down stop, they would have won. They probably go
That
up
would have
double
been the
digits.
ball game. Yeah.
So I'm saying if you
And
can get
the
the one
other,
stop,
yeah, the other issue is too, Ben, is Ole Miss didn't particularly run the ball well against Georgia, right? It was a lot of Trinidad plays. He balled out obviously, and I just don't know with how much better Georgia's gotten up front on defense, and just like their defense is gelling. It's playing at the caliber that you kind of expected them to play coming into the season. They finally figured it out. No one coaches better as the season goes on than Kirby, and
hmm,
I kind of expected them to be better, but not this much better. Not like we're absolutely annihilating Alabama, in the SEC championship game type level of better. But that's how good they look. And what they figured out late in the game is, oh, Ole Miss isn't going to run the ball on us. So they just
hmm.
brought their elite pass rushers in and really got in Trinidad's face and made life difficult for them.
He
Didn't have a
passed
lot of
for
time.
11 yards in the fourth quarter. 11.
Exactly. And they figured that out. So I don't know how much has changed for Ole Miss on offense for me to sit here and go, boy, they're really going to be able to get the run game going this time. Kewan also, that shoulder injury makes you wonder. I'm sure he, with 2 weeks to go, I don't know if you've heard anything. I haven't heard anything about him not playing in that game.
Well,
But
it's more than just a bruised shoulder. I can tell you
oh,
that.
I believe it based on I went back and watched the game too, and it's just like the way he's handling his shoulder, the way he's running off the field, all those things, it had me a little more concerned than maybe I felt Saturday sitting in the press box. So you don't even have a Q1 Lacey that's 100%, and they didn't do a particularly great job of blocking for him the first time around.
Hmm.
It's really hard for me to sit here and go, well, that's going to change. So truthfully, the path to Ole Miss winning this game is literally it's the same thing as last time. You're just going to need Trinidad and the receivers to make play after play. You're going to have to dial up some awesome play calls if you're Charlie Weiss, and it's difficult because Georgia's seen almost everything you've thrown at them. So
Hmm.
you're going to have to do it again, which is already kind of a challenge against Schumann and Kirby's defense. Um, so yeah, it's going to have to be Trinidad receivers and your defense, Ben. You just hope can get you a turnover that you can capitalize on,
That 1 4th down stop, Sudu. That one
a
first down
critical,
stop.
yeah, a critical stop. The other side of it, Georgia's run game has gotten even better. Gunnar Stockton is playing. He's played well
Oh,
all
here
year,
we
but
go.
he's playing with way more confidence.
Here we go.
It is hard when you sit down and look at all the elements of like the two sides. You kind of, let's say you have marbles, you have a bunch of marbles and you give them to each side. Georgia's got a lot more marbles if you go back and kind of watch what this how the season is played off. But like someone said, if you're in the damn thing, you're in the
Hmm.
dance, you got a shot, right? And it's about maybe this time around it's more about also how much worse does your team want it than the other team? And for Ole Miss, who hasn't been in this spot before, hasn't been in a college football quarterfinal, and the way Kiffin left, like, is there a different fire to this team? Is there a different fire coming through Pete? As I mentioned, at the end of the game on Saturday, for those who watched the drive home, there is a lot of um, interesting kind of connections between Kirby and Pete. Like I talked about how their backgrounds are interestingly similar as far as being college safeties who set records at their schools. Their dads were high school football coaches, went on to, coach for some legendary people, earned their way onto Nick Saban's staff. And for Pete specifically, he basically followed Kirby, right? I think Tosh Lapoy was in between and he followed Kirby. And Bama fans never gave Pete any credit. They kind of anything that went wrong was Pete's fault. Anything that went right was to the credit of Saban. And he stuck around Alabama all those years in Tuscaloosa, and they won titles and they had success. But Bama fans never appreciated him for that, in particular because he had to follow Kirby so closely after Kirby left. So it just makes you wonder: is there a certain fire that Pete's going to bring? Is there something different he brings to the equation because of maybe some of those things kind of off the field that exist? That's what I look to, and that doesn't make you feel very comfortable when you have to look outside of just the pure football aspect of, all right, we're going to line up against you, you're going to line up against us, and we're going to beat you. I don't think that alone is going to give Ole Miss the win. I just don't know if the talent is the same, just based on what we see in the season. So I'm counting on external factors. I'm counting on motivation. I'm counting on those kind of things for Ole Miss to grab the win, and that's not really the recipe you want, Ben, when you're in the playoff. You don't want to have to start looking at external things that motivate your team. And so for that reason, I'm in agreement with you and our friend Javon. It's really hard for me as I watch both these teams this season and look at all the stats and all the numbers and the previous game to sit here and go like, oh yeah, I feel really good about Ole Miss. It's just that's difficult. That's hard to say. That's just hard to say, but that's the truth.
I mean, right now, very early on, I'm picking Oregon to beat Texas Tech, Alabama to beat Indiana. Listen to me. Listen to me. Oregon to beat Texas Tech, Alabama to beat Indiana, Ole Miss to beat Georgia, and Ohio State to beat Miami. And then Ole Miss beats Ohio State because Ole Miss would then be a team of destiny. I'm just coming up with the best story here. What I really believe is that Ole Miss is probably going to lose to Georgia because not much has changed with these teams outside of Georgia, where Ole Miss matches up poorly with Georgia. Georgia has gotten better since Ole Miss couldn't get a stop in October. Defensively, the issues are still the same. Good as William Eccles is, the defensive tackle that lines up beside him, whether it's Xavier Harris, Jan Brown, just hasn't been to the caliber of William Eccles. And they've been running at that weakness of opposing teams for weeks now. The front seven, I mean, you lack true. I mean, you have pretty good linebacker play, but honestly, that's something that you could really improve and portal over. I look at this game as likely to be an Ole Miss loss, but if Ole Miss wins, it does, like you said, I like that. Like they look like a team of destiny then, right?
Without a doubt.
Because while Ohio State has incredible talent, especially perimeter talent with wide receivers, I think Ole Miss could get to Julian Sayin a little bit. You know, I think they could get after his ass a little bit.
Yeah, without a doubt. I don't think it's
and
going to be Julian Sayin though, Ben. So you mentioned
oh,
you mentioned your playoff picks. First of all, let me just say I picked
oh,
Bama and Miami. So
you
listen,
did.
if that means anything to anyone,
You did.
I did call both those games. I felt better about Bama just being not. I was like, yeah, I don't think they're going to play as badly as they had been playing. Which at first it looked like they were, but they finally figured it out, made some adjustments. And then as far as Miami and A&M were concerned, I was counting on Miami's defense, but I also did say as long as Carson Beck doesn't screw up, Miami should win this game. And Marcel Reed ultimately was the one who had the final screw up. But Miami's defense was so elite against Texas A&M that really proved to be obviously the deciding factor. My thing, I'm going to go Texas Tech over Oregon. I just until Texas Tech runs into another team that I think can handle its caliber of defense, I'm not going to pick against them. Oregon, I like, but I do think Oregon is slightly overrated. I just don't think they looked that impressive. They were a good team this season, obviously, deserved to be in the playoff, and I'm okay with them at 5. But I just wasn't as impressed with Oregon. They didn't seem that dominant. Granted, there were a lot of injuries. I will admit. And I love Dan Lanning, but I'm going to go with Texas Tech. You want to talk about a team of destiny potentially? It could be Texas Tech. And until that defense gives me a reason not to trust in it, I'm going to go with Texas Tech over Oregon. Indiana beats Bama. Georgia beats Ole Miss. And you know what? I'm going Miami over Ohio State. I think if Miami's defense plays like they
You
played
just want to
against
be
A&M,
vindicated for being so in love with them in the
nah,
season's opening weeks. That's all you want
yeah.
here.
And here's the thing, Julian's like Ohio State's Indiana proved Ohio State, like when they play an elite defense, they are beatable. You can beat them. So once again, Ben, it all comes down to is Carson what happens with Miami's offense? And if Carson Beck's just throwing picks left and right, whatever, then Ohio State wins easily. But if he just can keep those numbers down, they rely on their run game, makes the right throws. I think Miami's defense can win it for them against Ohio State. So for me, it's Texas Tech versus Indiana and Georgia versus Miami, a Carson Beck versus UGA game. And I'm sure it's going to be build up. That's my semifinals prediction.
Yeah, all 4 teams, Mary's right. All 4 teams with buys lost last year.
Mm-hmm.
There is something to it. There could be something to it.
It could be. Yeah. I think in Georgia's case specifically, because I covered that team, that was a crazy situation where Gunner kind of gets thrown into the mix and they didn't execute down there. And that is the thing though, Ben. Like when you're playing in a neutral stadium, the Superdome for both Ole Miss and Georgia could feel like a home game, right? Like both teams travel really well. It's close to their respective college towns.
Hey, you know
Both
what I
fan
heard
bases seem to
yesterday?
love them. What's that?
Ole Miss is 3-1 on Georgia fans buying up tickets right now.
I won't disagree. I will say, but the one thing is the Sugar Bowl is special for Ole Miss because of the history there. and the alumni base in New Orleans, I would assume, I don't know this for a fact, but I would assume just in its proximity to Mississippi, Ole Miss would have more alums in the area, at least from my experience too. Um, but you know, it could be a split. You could see it being a split or whatever, but I do think not being in Sanford could be a factor. Like I think it could be a bigger factor, let me say, rather than, just like, oh well, they're not at home. Like it might be a bigger factor because when you take out those 80 whatever thousand plus Georgia fans screaming, it does make a difference. So
Well,
that's something else to factor in.
These graphics sounded like Sudu. She said, I've been taking Miami over Ohio State this entire time. I think they're beatable. I think they're beatable too. That's not what I'm saying. I don't like, you've believed in Miami all year.
Yeah.
You've believed in them. And you need to, like, I'm going to say that Ohio State wins that, and it's not particularly close, mainly because I finally gave Texas A&M and Marcel Reed their flowers. You can go to the Instagram, go to City's Instagram, bro. Like you ready to finally say, and even though they weren't impressive, even in wins, the results were what they were, right? So you finally said, yes, you deserve it. You deserve this and this, and then on the biggest stage, you do that 3 points, and on the biggest stage, the most anybody's going to remember is Marcel. The video on social media of Marcel Reed like out drinking the days before the game. You know what I mean? That's what people are going to remember. It's essentially 11 meaningless wins.
Yeah.
Isn't that ridiculous? That sounds absurd, but it is.
No, but you're right. You're right. And it's, that is tough. And like I was genuinely surprised, man, because like
I was too.
as the season wore on, because I wasn't a huge Marcel Reed believer necessarily. Early on, I saw the talent Texas A&M had, and their defense specifically. I was like, man, that's a nasty defense. But to not even throw 2 interceptions, like that was shocking to me with Marcel Reed. I really thought as the season went on, he'd come along and kind of put himself in a position where coming into next season, he could be in that Heisman conversation. He'd been playing so well. But ultimately, it was the quarterback who made the least amount of mistakes, and that was my point. I said, as long as Carson Beck doesn't throw picks, doesn't make dumb mistakes, Miami can win that game. Carson Beck had a very mid game. It was 14 for 20, 103 yards, 1 touchdown. But guess what? He didn't throw an interception. Okay, and that was the difference maker, in my opinion. I think he fumbled. I don't think they lost that though, but. That's really what it's about this season. That's what it's been about all season for Miami. If Carson Beck doesn't make mistakes, regardless of what happens, their defense is talented enough. They have enough of a run game to where they can beat teams. I still think that factors in against Ohio State.
I do too. There's some questions we want to get to and some things in the chat specifically. But before I touch on these, Austin Simmons posted a flight to Miami just for the show's info that Miami's been pre-portaling that kid for 2 months, and they're not the only school either. I mean, the LSU Tigers have been pre-portaling Austin Simmons. It's unfortunate. I was really hoping he would cap off that drive that he came in on. 2 great passes, came in and ripped it. Logan Diggs absolutely whiffed on the pass pro, and Austin didn't have a chance to make a play on that. But still, his inability to hold on the football, he handed that fumble over to Tulane's defense. And then to see him at the end of the game, you and I both saw him sitting on the field.
Let me see if I can get that picture up.
Yeah,
let's see if I can
see if you
upload
can,
it.
because it was telling. I can pull it.
It was telling you.
It was really telling because it looked like a goodbye. I think we said in the post game afterwards, because it was really interesting. We had Brad and I for the drive home. Had Kentrell on for the Florida game, and it was great. Kentrell's the best.
There you go. There's a
picture.
picture.
You get it to me? You get it up? You already throw it up on
the
Yeah, you did. Show enough. Yeah. There it is. That was telling. And Kentrell had mentioned how the way everybody, specifically Lane, were acting after the Florida game, it seemed like a goodbye of some sorts. It seemed like a goodbye of some sort for Austin Simmons. So if he's on a flight plane somewhere, that doesn't surprise me at all. And Miami would make the most sense because that's one of the schools that's pre-portaled in the most. The bottom line is this with Ole Miss's quarterback situation. If Trinidad Chambliss gets his waiver, then he's going to be your quarterback next year. But if he doesn't, all bets are off. They're going to have to add at least 2 out of the portal. And Hauser from East Carolina makes a lot of sense because he was JDB's offense coordinator or quarterback last year. I think Brendan Swordsby's about to get like $4 million from Texas Tech.
Texas Tech, yeah.
I think it's about to be.
Hey, you know who's in the
insane for
portal?
him.
You know
Who's
who's
that?
in the portal, Ben?
Who's that? As I'm removing myself from the stage to pick up my phone that fell on the floor. Hey,
Our boy Byram Brown, quarterback of the South Florida Bulls. Now I know where his old head coach is. Okay. I know down in Auburn, Alabama, there's some
that's what I was
people
about to say.
clapping,
Like, he's
probably
going to Auburn.
celebrating. You know, I'm just
He's
saying
he's going.
he's there. He's there. You know, if Ole Miss wants to make a run at him, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that that's what they should do. I'm just saying, you know how I feel about him, and just saying Byron Brown is available
Sure,
in the portal. Just saying.
it's true. Not going to happen. He's going to
I know.
Auburn.
I know he's going to
Jackson
Auburn.
Arnold's in the portal. Deuce, like I'm curious if he does go to Auburn if Deuce Knight gets in, because if Deuce Knight gets in, there's an Ole Miss option for you. I'm just saying. I've been
I was
talking
going to
about
say,
Deuce.
well,
You know,
yeah,
Lane Kiffin's been free portal and Deuce Knight ever since he signed with Auburn. Let's just stop playing. I mean,
without a doubt. And I thought maybe Derek Nix would factor into that. That's why I was kind of like, oh, maybe you bring Nix back. Maybe he brings Deuce. Obviously, Nix is now at Alabama.
yeah,
But that was kind of my case. But even I know how close it was, you know, between Ole Miss and Auburn. So, you know, in the era of the portal, like if you finish number 2 for a kid, you can always assume that you're going to be right back in the running for him later. And you know, I think you could say that about Deuce Knight.
I mean, what happened with Keywan Lacey last year? See, the portal giveth and it taketh away. Ole Miss fan, like, come on now. He was in the portal for a day before he came to Ole Miss from Missouri. A day. Yeah. Let's just say that he knew where he was going the minute he hit the portal. I mean, for most of these kids, they know where they're going before they hit the portal. All right.
Right.
There have been extensive conversations with their representation before they hit the portal. They know what their options are. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them. And I'll just simply say, if Deuce Knight hits the portal, especially if Byron Brown follows Alex Golesh to Auburn, then yeah, Ole Miss will be an absolute team to watch for him, because look, that relationship hasn't ended since he signed with Auburn. I mean, that's just what it is. It's what's happening right now with Lane and Kevin Smith, who's working at LSU with Keywan. You know, don't think for a second they're not saying, well, yeah, you're banged up, man. Why don't you preserve yourself to come down here to Baton Rouge after the season's over? That's absolutely happening. And like that's what all these coaches are doing. They're looking out for themselves first. I want to touch on a couple of things real quick. Ole Miss made history by making the college football playoff. Now's your chance to bring history home with Ole Miss's official limited edition college football playoff football. It's an exclusive football, a symbol of excellence built for the biggest stage in the sport, captures the pride, passion, and performance of playoff football. Only 12 programs, as we all know, earn the right to hold one each year. Now's your chance to have your own forever. It's handcrafted here in the United States. They're authentic game day footballs made specifically approved for on-field play during the college football playoffs. So the footballs that they're playing with, you will own one, except it's Ole Miss branded, and all you got to do is go to Big Game Football Factory, and they'll take care of you. Order your football today. I know Ole Miss memes. My guy on Twitter, he got him one. They're pretty slick, man. I'm not going to lie to you. And you got to go to BigGameUSA.com. That's BigGameUSA.com. Big Game Football Factories, Ole Miss special college football, official limited edition college football playoff football. Get you one by going to BigGameUSA.com. Don't miss your chance. They're exclusive. They're limited time only. Also want to give a lot of shouts out to our sponsors, including B&A Bank, my hometown bank, with branches in New Albany and Tupelo, Mississippi. If you're like me and just don't trust yourself making financial decisions on your own and you need somebody you can trust, I cannot recommend anyone before B&A Bank. From Carolyn Brownson to Whit Spencer. Whit, you actually saw in the pregame show. He stopped by and saw us. He can do your mortgage and make sure you get a good deal for you. So B&A Bank, man, give them your business. They've been with me for a long time. And for as long as I'm doing this stuff, I hope that they'll still be doing it with me, because they're friends more than they are my financial people. So 662-534-8171. 662-534-8171. That's B&A Bank. If you're unhappy with or shopping your health insurance coverage, contact Drew Moak of USA Benefits Group, 601-953-8449. 601-953-8449. Quoteswithdrew.com. Quoteswithdrew.com. It's Drew Moak of USA Benefits Group. Can help you with regular health, dental, vision, Medicare supplement plans, whatever you need. quoteswithdrew.com. And then, of course, we got to give a shout out to my guy, Andy Ludicky, over at myperfectfranchise.net. If you're looking to get into business ownership, want to do something for yourself, his services are 100% free. He can help you. He can help you get started and do something for yourself. Head to myperfectfranchise.net to learn more. It's Andy Ludicky, myperfectfranchise.net, 404-973-9901. There was a lot of questions in the chat that we got to get to first. But before we do that, if you had to pick your pre-Christmas that we're absolutely going to hold each other to, pre-Christmas national title game winner for the college football playoff, who is it?
Repeat that, Benny. Sorry, you broke up on my end.
If you had to pick one team in this college football playoff field that is still alive to be your national title winner pre-Christmas, that I'm going to hold you to it because, like, obviously it's sure to be wrong. So I'm going to pick mine. You pick yours. Your pre-Christmas college football playoff national champion is
it's the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia Bulldogs. I love how you treat this. I love how you treat this like, and here we go, Sawyer Whitley. Here we go. No, I love how you treat this like it's some kind of like love affair, but it's truthfully just me watching ball and going, that team's good. That team's really freaking good. They're good on all these levels, and it's just it just is what it is, man. I mean, I can't go against them when things are rolling right. Last year was a little different. And someone actually mentioned in the comments, like, last year was actually insane. First of all, I was there, okay? There was a whole terrorist attack in New Orleans last year, which was absolutely crazy. I got sick. I got sick the night of New Year's Eve. We had this big show I had to produce and host. As soon as that ended, my body crashed. I ended up passing out, man, and didn't make it out on Bourbon Street, which I think was a blessing because I've been in New Orleans.
For the best, man.
It was for the best because, you know me, I've been in New Orleans so many times. I love it down there. I know so many different spots on Bourbon, and I had friends with me down there that hadn't been in New Orleans. So I was excited to give them the whole experience. I was like, guys, the game's not till 7 or 6 Central, whatever it was. I think it was 7 Central. I was like, we're going to stay out until 4 a.m. Like we're doing the damn thing, you know, had all these plans made. I end up getting sick and don't go out. They actually do. And they came in, I think, about 35 to 40 minutes before everything went down. And so that I was just
Oh, no, he's frozen up. Let's wait to see if we can get him back. He's in a hotel right now in Connecticut, is Sudu. I'll remove him from the stage as he freezes up. He's working for CBS on Christmas Day. So he's got a lot going on. And let's see if he can get reconnected before we can talk to him again to answer some of y'all's questions in the chat. Mine was going to be, and I don't know if you can still hear me or not. I've been thinking Georgia, but I'm going with Indiana only because if it's not going to be Ole Miss, let it be Indiana for me. I just think that would be a great way to shut everybody up, including myself, who said, well, Fernando Mendoza is a pretty underwhelming Heisman winner, honestly, especially when you consider Trinidad Chambliss has passed for more yards despite starting 2 fewer games and coming off the bench. There's a lot. There's a lot to like about Indiana, and people have been doubting them for so long. Kind of got a little bit of the Ole Miss vibe in that way. I would totally pick Indiana. See, Javon Camp, we're the same. Totally. I would, if it's not going to be Ole Miss, let it be Indiana. Now, like the pure football guy in me wants to say it's Georgia like Sudu. Like I believe it'll be Georgia like Sudu. But there he is. We lost you for a second.
What's
you froze up on us.
Sorry, man. Apparently, when you stay at a Marriott, you have to Marriott, as I've been told.
It's true.
Is actually how you pronounce it.
That's true.
Apparently, you have to reconnect to your internet every day. That was very annoying. What are you talking about? Sorry, you probably already moved on.
I did. I said my pick, if I were just going with the football side of it, I was going to pick Georgia too. But no, I'm picking Indiana because if it's not going to be Ole Miss, let it be Indiana. But if Ole Miss beats Georgia, I'm telling y'all, the team of destiny, I'm going to call it. They're winning the whole damn thing. The whole thing.
I agree, because if you can beat Georgia, you're kind of running into similar deals the rest of the way as far as really elite defenses and everything that comes with that. Ohio State for Ole Miss would be interesting because of how good they're off. I mean, that would be a headache, man. That might have to be just a shootout between the two sides of just airing it down the field. Because can you imagine Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith against Antonio Kite and whoever else?
Antonio Kite's had a really good year. Jalen Braxton has really come on for the last month plus. And he was great against Tulane. But to answer your question, no.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so I see this comment. It's a super redemption game from Gunnar Kirby and his players. So that's what I was talking about. It was a whole terrorist attack. Also, Kirby Smart's dad died during that game. Like he passed away. He fell outside of the hotel. They had to put him in the ER, and then I believe he died. He was in the hospital. Maybe the next day he died or something along those lines. But it was actually insane. There was so much going on. Gunnar Stockton, his first like start ever. And obviously Notre Dame, the way they were set up last year, it was one of those teams where you couldn't make mistakes against them. You had to really out execute them. And they just fell behind at one point and just never recovered in last year's game. So there is a redemption arc. Also, like if you guys are familiar with Kirby, you can tell where Kirby is based on how he's talking in his press conferences. And I was a little scared after watching it on Monday. This man had his beard going, and
He's
he
pissed.
was saying stuff. He was saying stuff like, instead of announcing where you're going next or players coming back, how about we announce that you've gotten better? And I was like, oh no, he's in peak Kirby form right now. This is not good.
So
It's
true
just,
though.
it's hilarious. I don't know if you guys know about Kirby's. You can find these online. Go watch them. They're so funny. He is known to have a megaphone in practice. Like I've been in Athens for these, and it's actually hilarious. He has a megaphone, and he just dog cusses out his team and just trolls them the entire time with a megaphone, and you can hear it all around campus. Mind you, there's like a school and a church within the hearing distance of this stuff, and he does not care. And
Well, first
so
of all, our living, breathing God, he is omnipresent. So I'm just saying, he hears the cussing with the megaphone just as much as he would at the church, Sue. That's all I'm saying. Did you freeze up again? Did I freeze you up interrupting you? Oh, that's hilarious. Well, we'll take him off the stage again. We only got so much time to go anyway. I want to get to these questions in the comments. One from SoCafe9240. Charlie will call the game against Georgia. I thought his final game was last week. There were some rumors out there about that specifically. And I want y'all to look at this so y'all don't have to see those ugly cords behind me. Where is it? Look at this. Christmas background. Look at that. Isn't that great? Christmas background because it's Christmas time. And if you want to order this, by the way, that's what that QR code is up in the top right corner. Look at that shirt from my friends, the hoes of South Lamar here in New Albany, Chip and Drew and Philip and Jessica and Mary Beth. I just love you all so much. And this shirt is hilarious. If you want one, go to the QR code up in the top right corner. Sudu is back with us, but let me show you one more time. Because it's Christmas time. It's here, as they say on Charlie Brown. Christmas time is here. There it is. Get you one. A little ho, ho, ho action. They really nailed me on that one. I'm not going to lie. A little chubby in the face. Nice little Bieber swoop in the front. Charlie will call the game against UGA. I thought that his final game was last week. There were rumblings. There were rumors about some not good things being done in that building last week. But did I lose Sudu? There he is. I got you back.
no, I'm back. I'm back.
But what I was told most recently is that all of those coaches that you saw in that video for LSU, including Kevin Smith, are expected back on Friday to continue in their roles for Ole Miss. I was of the opinion and said as much to Sudu at the game on Saturday that I think JDB with 2 weeks would be just fine to handle the offense because honestly, Patrick Carter, who's re-upped with Ole Miss, and we told you about it, the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, affiliate of On3, sign up today. 50% off is our deal for the playoff. All you got to do is sign up and join us every day. You don't just have to hang out with us for an hour here on Talk of Champions. Game runs deep every single day. We're at the Ole Miss Spirit, even though Sudu doesn't get in there and shitpost like I know he really, really wants to. It's the place to go at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com. Sign up today for 50% off. Patrick Carter is re-upped with Ole Miss for 2026, and he put out a social media post talking about his first win as interim Ole Miss wide receivers coach, and people had questions about that in regards to, well, what about George McDonald? I thought he was going to LSU. Is he not here anymore? Does that say anything about the LSU coaches in the building? I saw George McDonald at practice putting the players through the drills. I just think that right now, Patrick Carter is Ole Miss's wide receivers coach until George McDonald steps in to lead his room again on Friday, because right now they're off and he's at LSU. It's a crazy dynamic, and it makes no sense. And it's dueling allegiances for all of these guys right now, but that's the way Pete's going about it. And I'm going to be honest with you, with the way he made Saturday look so normal when it had every reason to look anything but, I completely diverted his judgment on it. I know what I would want to do. Y'all can go on now. Take it easy. We got 2 weeks to prepare for Georgia. Patrick Carter can take over for George McDonald at practices. I promise you, practices ain't shit. You know what I mean? Like it's all right. But yeah, it's looking more and more like, and I said it was a bold prediction. Remember, like when we make bold predictions, because like they're supposed to be bold to where inevitably there could be wrong, but there's some truth to them. It could happen, probably not. So I wanted to make that clear. It wasn't been reporting that was going to happen, but certainly there were some rumors, and other people have talked about it too. There have been some rumors out there, man, that that was going to happen, and it's not looking that way. But you never know. I think I think Pete's handled it the right way. An awkward situation, the best he can, man. Because like I don't even know how anybody. There's no playbook for any of this. You know what I mean?
No,
Like I
no,
don't know
there's
how you
not.
handle any of it, right?
Because normally it has been, as it's usually like what we saw with Summerall, or we saw with JMU's coach, right? It's you're leaving a smaller program in sense of like levels, like you're talking
Mm,
group of five to whatever, like a big jump, and they're okay, maybe they stay through the bowl, or in this case the playoff, whatever, and you just kind of assume like, oh well, they're probably not going to win. That's tough. But still celebratory moment for the coach to finish out the season. You never see it amongst SEC rivals. It's so I don't know if it's happened before. Like I'm trying to think. I have to probably go research that, but I just don't know if a situation like this has ever transpired, where a coach just leaves his team in the midst of a season where you could win it all. So yeah. I mean, Pete's doing the best he can because there's no playbook for this stuff. He's just like, what's the best thing for my team to win? And it's probably okay to have some semblance of continuity, because position coaches are what matters, right? And that's how Lane had it set up, to his credit. Considering he didn't even know a lot of the players' names, someone had to, and it was those position coaches, right? So it does make sense in that regard, but there's just something just unsettling about an LSU coach being in that building. It
mm,
just doesn't sit right with me. But
I agree.
also, what choice do you really have? You know?
Because it's about the 2025 group, and those guys have been with their position coaches all year. I get it from that vantage point. At SoCafe9240, I believe there are a few positions to fill. Any word on who JDB might hire? The really only the position left to fill is tight ends coach and maybe a defensive assistant. And tight ends coach, honestly, I know Neil over at Rebels 247 put Chimp Lindsey out there. Jerry
That's
Neuheisel
what
is in
I
town.
I
Chip
heard
Lindsey's
his name
going
a
somewhere else,
lot.
and now he's going
Oh,
to
is he?
Missouri. Yeah, he's
Is he?
going to
Okay.
Missouri. So
Okay. That was the
I don't
name
know.
I heard a lot in Oxford this weekend. No matter whose house I was at, or who I was hanging out with, as Chip Lindsey's name kept coming up over and over and again. And then, of course, Justice Haynes immediately would follow and talking about Chip Lindsey. So I
That's
guess that
another
was a
one. Like
fun
if
little.
Lacey leaves and goes to LSU, it's not just Harlem Berry. If Justice Hayes gets in, man, I know uh, Ole Miss was really close to getting him last year in the portal.
Right.
He's a transfer running
Right.
back
No,
from
I mean they
Alabama.
were number two, right? Ole Miss finished
Mhm.
second, I believe. Is that
Yeah,
not correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one that I would absolutely watch out for. Walker Reb 1515. Do you know what players the coaches are tampering with? Any insight on tight end coach or any rumblings of players to be retained? The only players I'm really worried about right now, as far as Ole Miss losing, is Keywan Lacey and Winnie Watkins. There are going to be others. I mean, other guys are going to get in, but I'll tell you this, man. If Lane was still the head coach, Ole Miss was going to have a hard time holding on to William Eccles and Cam Franklin. So the portal giveth, the portal taketh away. Um, my question would be like, how painful would it be? I got a low battery going on me.
Well, it looks like we lost Ben. Uh, I guess he was in the midst of answering your question there, Walker. Listen, as far as the insight on the players coaches are tampering with, the two I've heard, Keywan and Winnie for sure. He was mentioning how there was other guys that would have left if Kiffin stayed. That is just the portal era. It's whoever can pay you the most, and even if there's the slightest inconvenience for you can now become a point of negotiation. It can become a point to leave. So it's always interesting and it's unpredictable. As far as the tight ends coach is concerned, man, Chip Lindsey was the one that it didn't matter if I was at a tailgate or I was hanging out at someone's house when I was in Oxford this weekend. The people that are really involved with the program, Chip Lindsey's name came up time and time again. And now Ben's alluding to him going to Missouri, which is, that's news to me. You remember at one
Sorry
point,
about that.
no, you're good. I was just saying, I was trying to finish answering the question on tight ends
I
coach.
was proud of it. I was listening
Mentioned,
to it. I was like, dang, Sudu's got this. Okay. Like, I can just shut my ass up. You know what I mean?
no, I'm just filling in, man, filling in where I can. But Jerry Neuhausel's name was mentioned. Now I'm hearing that's not going to happen.
Nope.
That's kind of gone to the wayside as
Yep.
well. So it is really interesting to see who they end up
I don't know.
putting in that spot. I know there's Ole Miss fans that want Caden Prescorn to come back and coach tight ends. I don't know if he's quite ready.
He
You know,
ain't
he's
ready for
just
being on the
recently grad.
field, man. No,
Nah, I don't think so. I think an analyst role or something would be awesome, be much welcome, but you want to have someone that's really good at that. And obviously JDB's background, he has some of that in his background too, but you want to have someone that can really attack that position because it's such an important position as we've seen in Kiffin's offense, and JDB's going to be running something very similar. So hopefully they land a pretty good name for that. That'd be special, I think.
They need a special, I mean, a strength and conditioning coach. Tyler Owens is the only name from Washington, worked with Pete at Alabama that we can really think of right now or have really heard all that much about. I think for tight ends coach and also maybe that defensive assistant, the reason why it's kind of slowed down here before Christmas because the big ticket items have been taken care of and the coaches that they would otherwise want to talk to, some of them are still in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
Like guys that are on certain staffs that they might be able to give a elevation and title to, like Lane did with Kevin Smith and making him the associate head coach and paying him $1 million. To which I'd say I'd rather have Frank for that money plus Harlan Berry at a discounted rate than Kevin Smith at $1 million and Keywan at 2.3 for a rental. That just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. So I mean, all of these are considerations right now for Ole Miss. And as far as players that have been tampered with, oh man. Pick your guy.
I mean,
pick your guy. Pick them. I mean, I could tell you defensive players, every one of those guys that was announced last week, Centarian Perkins, William Eccles, Bryson Sanders, and Antonio Cott, every single one of those guys have been tampered with. All of them have. Anyone of consequence, pick one. The ones I'm really worried about whether or not they'll go or stay would be Keywan and Winnie Watkins right now. But after that, yeah, I'm kind of with old memes. I mean, I've heard a lot about Harlan Berry. The person I talked to yesterday that would know better than anybody has known Harlan Berry since 8th grade. Straight up said that, like, oh yeah, I think Ole Miss would absolutely get him, but Kevin's already down there trying to retain him.
I was
but
going to
like,
say I heard Kevin's been putting in work with
of
him.
course he
So
is, but like, don't worry, the other people on one side of it, the one he's trying to retain, like they know what you're trying to do too, trying to bring Keywan down to Red Stick. You know what I mean? So the people around him, the people, including the guy I talked to yesterday, that's known him since 8th grade, straight up said, like, you ain't splitting carries with Keywan Lacey. If Keywan Lacey's coming to Harlem, you ain't getting the ball. That kid wants to be at LSU, but he wants the ball more than that. You know what I mean? Like giving Hack Ben's computer. No, I forgot to plug it up. It's only had 38% juice, and I meant to, and I just didn't do it. But we got back in there, and yes, but why does Chase look like he wants to be? Who, Chase Parham? Chase doesn't look like he wants to be punched. Chase looks like a big soft teddy bear, doesn't he? Is that what we're talking about? The extra 20 practices will advance our backup 10 times for next year. Probably adds 2 wins next year. I don't know if I go with that, but
that schedule next year is brutal, man. I saw it the other day. I kind of skimmed through it when it came out, but I actually got a chance to look at it in its format, and I was just like, oh my god, you got to go to Texas, you got to go to Oklahoma. Yeah, it's just so many. Still play Georgia at home. That's a pretty brutal schedule.
Yeah,
next season.
This was the question I was trying to get to. Dakota King 2457, excuse me. With Smith trying to retain Berry, does that mean things are going on behind the scenes with Lacey possibly returning? Oh, they've been in conversation with Lacey, and I mean that's been ongoing with not just old LSU, but with Ole Miss as well. And yeah, there's a chance, but if you're asking me the most likely outcome, I think that Keywan ends up following. Because I said it on this podcast a week ago, where I believe that wherever Kevin Smith is coaching next year, that's where Keywan would be. Well, now Kevin Smith is at LSU officially.
The other aspect of that, Ben, is like you mentioned, it's going to cost a lot of money. First of all, the idea of paying a running back a lot of money, obviously, it's a contentious point because obviously when Quinshawn left, people went, well, look what happened with Ohio State. He got there and helped them win. Well, because they already had other elements in place for that recipe to work. And for me, I look at Ole Miss and I go, do you want to pay Keywan Lacey $2.5 million, whatever it's going to take, $3 million, or do you want to get two elite two elite tackles that you have to replace? I look at it that way because if you can get your line of scrimmage set, you have talented guys that can move bodies there. I'm not saying you can just put whoever at running back, but whoever you can find in the portal is to me a serviceable replacement for Keywan if you can get the right offensive lineman. And so I look at it that way. I know a lot of people are pressed on losing Keywan. You never want to lose an offensive weapon like himself, but also like I'm more worried about how are they going to replace their offensive line. Are they gonna be able to protect their quarterback next year, whoever that's gonna be? Are they gonna be able to even have holes for the running back to run through if Keywan were to stay? Like that's more of a priority to me than will Keywan stay or not? If he decides to go, he decides to go. Whatever. Best of luck to him, I guess. But yeah, I'd much rather replace those two tackle spots with and spend money there to do it.
Yeah, Devin Harper is going to be one of your starters probably at right tackle next year. But I agree with you. Like you don't pay $2.3 million for a running back. You don't. That's bad football.
Especially if you don't already have returning linemen where you go, oh, we're set. Because if you were already set, then hell yeah, pay him the money because you already know hey, we're good there. Those guys can open up holes for Keywan.
Well, you got Bryson and Delano Townsend and but I mean you're missing both of your tackles. Patrick Kudus will be back too. I mean you're missing both of your tackles. So yeah, you're gonna really have to spend up there. But like just it's bad football practice for a non-premium position to pay that kind of money. Now, I don't care about the optics. I don't. Optics last you about a 24-hour news cycle. All right. Like I care about a well-constructed football team. And I'm sorry, but paying $2.3 million, which is the number I think Ole Miss could easily get LSU to come get Keywan. I mean, look, Kevin Smith and Elaine are already down there talking about how, hey, man, you might want to protect that shoulder. You know what I mean? Especially if you come in next year, like don't ruin your payday. Oh, come on now. Like this is already like all these guys are considering these things already. I don't care about the optics. I care about Ole Miss constructing a good football team. How close is SMK, Chicago Mills Knight, to being ready to get snaps for Ole Miss? Not that close, to be honest with you, in my opinion. He was a raw prospect. I think he could, but for me, Ole Miss, like running back is a position that I expect them to be pretty active shopping for, especially if Keywan follows through and goes to LSU. That's what I would expect. But yeah, I don't care about the optics. I don't care about any of that. What I care most about is almost putting together a good roster. And you just cannot convince me paying a running back near $3 million is in this. I mean, for Ole Miss, which is smarter with their dollars than everybody else, is the right way to play it. I just don't think that's the way to go. That's just me. I can't remember where the other question was. I'm trying to find it, but I can't in the chat. We've been going for an hour and 10 minutes now, and Sudu's got to go work for CBS on Christmas Day. At Sudu _ oh, what's your Twitter? What's your Twitter?
Twitter at I think there is an underscore on Twitter at Sudu _ TV, I believe. And then everything else should just be. I know. You know what happened to me with that was when I got to WWE, I forgot what was going on. We had to I was already verified, but we had to switch it for some reason. And they tried really hard to just get the version without the underscore. I think they reached out to, and then we couldn't do it. So then we had to add the underscore, which is the bane of my existence because everything else is just Sudo TV. It really annoys me. But no, I'm excited. Yeah, doing 3 shows up here in Connecticut. Love coming up here to work for them. It's a lot of fun hosting on HQ. So yeah, if you guys are free later tonight, you want to watch some sports coverage, get on CBS Sports HQ.
Attaboy. I disagree with Brandon Tyler here, who says when we don't win any of these negotiations, it looks bad. It makes us look small. So what does it look like when Ole Miss retains Jake Schoonover and John Garrison after pursuits from Lane and LSU? What does it look like then when the entire defensive staff, not a single one of them, follows him to LSU? What does it mean then when you go out and you beat Tulane with what should have been by a better score, like a worse score than the first time you played them in the playoff? What does that make you look like then? Because right now, what Lane looks like to me is petty. What he looks like to me is the jaded ex-girlfriend. Like, dude, you're the one that dumped your ex, and you hate to see them thriving without you. I think optically, Ole Miss has already made counter moves, like the Frank Wilson counter move makes them show that no one's going, well, look, Ole Miss lost Kevin Smith to LSU. They're also talking about, well, Ole Miss just took NOLA legend Frank Wilson from LSU, swapped coaches with them because these two big boys are in a pissing match. So I just disagree with that fundamentally. I just don't think that it makes much of any sense to me. I do think that those coaches look down there, man. They I don't know about brainwashed, but a few of them looked emasculated. I'll say that. You know what I mean? Like there's a few of them that would do well to get out from under Lane, but they refuse to for their own. Hey, look, man, the money's good. You get $7.5 million to call plays, buddy. I wouldn't turn it down either. Any opinion on Tyler Jordan tweeting about Portal Pete? Not really. I mean, that's Tyler's personal Twitter account, and Tyler loves the Rebels, man. And I do think that Ole Miss is about to be absolutely crazy active in the portal as they have been for 6 years. And I fully expect them to land another top 5 class. All right, we got to get out of here. If y'all want one of these,
Before Before
ho
we
ho.
go,
Uh-huh.
something I just saw, Ben, from
Uh-huh.
your
Uh-huh.
boys over at On Three, that Jeff Brom has emerged as the name of interest in the Michigan coaching search, which would affect Ole Miss, who has to open the season against Louisville next season. I'd much rather not play Jeff Brom. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so he's how crazy is that Michigan situation, by the way? I mean,
See,
they couldn't
not
get Kenny
fun.
Dillingham. They couldn't get Kenny Dillingham. Obviously, the craziness of everything that's ensued prior to that, and just during like the previous seasons too. It's a mess at Michigan, but they couldn't get Dillingham. Now they're. I mean, I don't know who they're going to go to. I mean, honestly, if Biff Poggi isn't he their interim coach right now, then he could end up being the full time. Like it's crazy. And then I don't know if you saw the reports that Marcus Freeman is a favorite of the Giants. So we could legit. This coaching cycle has been crazy. We could see a
Never ending.
scenario where Michigan and Notre Dame are open going into portal season and not have a coach in
Mm.
place. It's actually remarkable right now, and Louisville for that matter. If Brom were to leave, I've never seen an offseason like this.
Oh my gosh. See, because like Kyle Whittingham would be so good at Michigan. He'd be boring as hell as the hire, but like all people care about is like slow rolling out their staff announcements rather than winning football games. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's bizarre what we value in college football. Ole Miss is 3 wins away from a title, and I believe them to be a team of destiny, especially if they get past Georgia. If they don't get past Georgia, I mean, the season's over. It's obvious, but like I don't think they're beating Georgia. I just don't think they're beating Georgia because
hey,
I just
let me take this question before we go. I just saw this one, and this person is
all
really
right.
special to me. Said, "How was working with Nigel McGuinness? I cannot say enough nice things about Nigel McGuinness. One of the greatest people I've met in my life. One of the nicest people I've met in my life. When I got to WWE, Stephen Godfrey actually reached out to me because he'd worked in wrestling before and had mentioned Nigel specifically because I guess they'd worked together at TNA and told me class act, like awesome guy, whatever, and could not have been more of the truth. I mean, he was taught me so much about the business because I just got thrown into wrestling, never having worked in it, and I mean, I hadn't watched it since I was like a kid. But any chance I get to say anything nice about Nigel McGuinness, I will do that because he was like one of the best wrestlers who never made it to WWE. I just which sucks because he would have been so good. But his knowledge and just his ability to like entertain people and just like a cool dude in general, he was the best. So that's what I got to say about him, Maddie.
Well said. I don't know Nigel, but if Sudu vouches for you, hey buddy, come on over to Oxford, Mississippi. We'll show you a good time, buddy. I'll escort you around just on Sudu's suggestion. That's my dude. Be blessed. Sign up for the Ole Miss Spirit. Thank you, Mary. You're absolutely right. OM Spirit, omspirit.com, Fleet of On 3, 50% off as long as Ole Miss is in the playoff. And for at least the next 2 weeks, they're in the playoff. We'll be live from the Sugar Bowl. I think I've secured us a location. I'll let y'all know about that soon. Thank you to B&A Bank. Thank you to Riverland Roofing, 662-644-4297, riverlandroofing.com. They got a deal going right now, too. While Ole Miss is in the playoff, if you call and use the services of Riverland Roofing, you can right now buy a new Riverland roof during the playoff run. You get a free year of their roof care maintenance program, 2 maintenance inspections, 2 gutter and debris cleanings, 10% discount on all incremental work. It's Riverland Roofing, 662-644-4297, riverlandroofing.com. Thank y'all, man, for everything y'all have done for us here at Talk of Champions. Game runs deep, the Ole Miss Spirit. It's been really fun, and we're going to keep it rolling. We'll see you in New Orleans. Y'all are still rolling in with the hot takes, and I love this. Ben is an excellent writer. I'm not being, well, that's sweet. Go to the Ole Miss Spirit and wear your shirt when you see me in New Orleans. That QR code in the top right corner, you can get you one. The Hose of South Lamar gave me this shirt, and it's amazing, and I'm thankful for it. Y'all are awesome. Sudu, don't be a stranger. I agree. Thank you, buddy. Enjoy. I hope you don't work too hard on Christmas, but, man, I know you're going to crush it, and we'll talk again next week, I suppose.
Absolutely, man. We'll see y'all next week for another episode, man. Appreciate it.